Hi girls, I hope you're all doing well. For those of you who have sent me the I love the look of words answers, this is a correction video just to give you a clearer idea of what the answers were supposed to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the poem just to put you in the picture. It is a poem written by a poetess, a female poet. Her name is Maya Angelou. And this is the I Love the Look of Words poem. Popcorn leaves, popping from the floor of a hot black skillet and into my mouth. Black words leap, snapping from the white page, rushing into my eyes, sliding into my brain, which gobbles them the way my tongue and teeth chomp the butter popcorn. When I have stopped reading, ideas from the words stay stuck in my mind, like the sweet smell of butter perfuming my fingers long after the popcorn is finished. I love the book and the look of words, the weight of ideas that popped into my mind. I love the tracks of new thinking in my mind. So the first question was pretty straightforward. However, some of you still gave me the wrong answer. It said, how many stanzas does the poem have? Please keep in mind that stanzas in a poem are the paragraphs, not the number of lines. So the answer here should have been two. There are two stanzas. Number two, what does the poet show us about reading? If you actually go through the poem and look at the vocabulary that is used, words such as love and the way that reading is being compared to popcorn, something that somebody enjoys doing, it shows us that it is a positive reaction to reading. So here the poet wanted to show us that reading is an exciting, an enjoyable, a fun activity. It wanted to show us that reading gives us pleasure. Question number three, find a personification in the poem. Remember that a personification is when an object is being referred to as a human because the actions that this object is doing is not usually done by an object, but it is usually done by a person. So, there were two possible personifications. You had the popcorn leaps or the black words leap. Leap is another word for jump, and popcorn or words do not usually do so. This is done to show us the rush that someone gets when reading or when eating popcorn. So that is the personification. The popcorn is being shown as jumping to show us the rush that this activity gives to the person. Number four, find two examples of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a sound word, a word which when you say it, you hear the sound, the noise that it makes. And here you had the possibility of giving me four words, even though it asks for two. So you had the word pop, chomp, snapping, and gobble. Number five, most of the lines in the poem are run-on lines. Remember, run-on lines are those lines which have no punctuation at the end. There's nothing to stop them, so they run on to the next line. Now, in this poem, what effect do these run-on lines create on the rhythm of the poem? The rhythm is the pace, the speed. Do they give it a sense of boredom? Do they give it a sense of excitement? Or do they give it a sense of fear? In this case, these run-on lines going from one line to another without stopping give the poem, the rhythm, a sense of excitement. The same as reading does and the same as eating popcorn does. Then it asks you to highlight an example of run-on lines. There were a number of possibilities. Let me just have a look at the first stanza. So, for example, the first line, popcorn leaps, popping from the floor, is an example of a run-on line because there's no punctuation at the end. You had snapping from the white. It is another example of a run-on line. Page rushing into my eyes, sliding. Another example of a run-on line. As long as there is no punctuation at the end of that line, then you're fine. Now, moving on to the next question. So I had question number 6. Find a simile in the poem. Don't forget, a simile is when you take two things and compare them. When you compare something, it means you show what's similar between these two things. And here we had the words being compared to the smell of popcorn. So let me find it for you. The simile was, the words stay stuck in my mind like the sweet smell of butter. So here we're comparing the words to the smell of butter that the popcorn has. Now, why was this comparison being made? So how are we going to explain this simile? This simile shows the way with which ideas from the books we read remain in our thoughts, just like the smell of popcorn remains on our fingers. So here we're trying to show that these thoughts, just like the smell, are persistent and they have a huge impact. They leave an effect on the reader, just like popcorn leaves an effect on whoever is eating it. Then we had question number 7. Find 3 words from the poem related to movement. So we had the words leap, rushing, and sliding. Leap, as I said, is jump. Rushing is when you run somewhere, and sliding is when you slide. Number 8. The poem compares reading a book to eating popcorn. Mention 2 ways in which the 2 activities are similar. So we could have said that both activities give us pleasure. We could have said that both activities show a certain eagerness from the person. You could have also said that just like black words are printed on white paper, the white popcorn is being cooked in a black skillet, in a black pan. So there we've got those similarities. Question number 9, quote lines from the poem that appeal to the human senses. Some of you repeated the example. Do not do that. You need to go to the poem and give answers of your own. So when we had sight, you could have said black words. The color is appealing to our sight. Hearing, you could have used any of the lines which included the onomatopoeic words. So you had any line which includes pop, chomp, snapping, or gobble. Smelling, you had the line referring to the sweet smell of butter. And you had movement, any line which consisted of the words leap, rushing, or sliding. Then you had the last and final question, which asked you to comment about the rhyming scheme of the poem. If you actually look at the poem and look at the rhyme, there's no structure, there's no pattern. So the answer had to be that this poem is written in free verse. We mentioned this technique in class, so it's very important that you remember it. This poem has no rhyming scheme, it has no pattern, it has no structure, so it is written in free verse. I hope that was more clear, but please feel free to contact me via email should you wish for me to go into further detail or explain a particular question again. That is my job, so please feel free to ask me any questions. For now, that's it. See ya!